Welcome to Poetry Lockdown, day 94. Um, so this is a kind of a continuation of day 93 of yesterday. Um, in a lot of these poetry lockdowns, I've been considering, what does it mean for a poet to write in response to a moment, especially to a moment like our own. And lo and behold, New York Times Book Review solicits two poets to do that very thing. So yesterday I read and talked about my admiration for Claudia Rankine's poem Weather, which was solicited by the New York Times Book Review. And today I want to read and talk about Jericho Brown's poem, Say Thank You, Say I'm Sorry. Just a little bit about Jericho Brown, young African American poet. His book, The Tradition, just won the Pulitzer Prize. Props to you, Jericho Brown. I've read some of the poems in that book, just searching the internet, finding a number of them. They're excellent. It's just a terrific book, so I'd really recommend that. I haven't checked out the whole thing myself, but what I've read is awesome. And I thought it'd be helpful as an intro to this poem. I was reading from an interview with Jericho Brown, and he said something that really resonated with me for this moment, and also I think really speaks to the poem I'm going to read that he wrote. Uh, the interviewer says, quoting his own work, "You, Jericho Brown, have also written, quote, thinking and talking about freedom is only of use to me as an artist, and I submit only of use to us as human beings when we can understand it as a complement to and not a contradiction of responsibility." And that's the end of the quote. And then the interviewer asks him, "Hey, are you thinking more about freedom now because of the current socio-political situation?" And Brown responds, and I think this really speaks to the poem. "I don't know when I wasn't thinking about freedom, as I have always been aware of myself as the literal descendant of slaves and sharecroppers. The current socio-political situation is really just a moment when some white folks are suddenly aware of what people of color have always known. And the uproar about the current situation proves that even the most well-meaning of these people never took heed to anything Gwendolyn Brooks or Allen Ginsberg or Adrienne Rich ever said. Maybe now more folks will come to know that poetry is not entertainment, though poetry may give pleasure, may even be delightful. It is not entertainment." I really love that quote, and I think what he says about responsibility and freedom really speaks to this poem. So, with that introduction, Jericho Brown's Say Thank You, Say I'm Sorry. I don't know whose side you're on, but I am here for the people who work in grocery stores that glow in the morning and close down for deep cleaning at night. Right up the street, and in cities I mispronounce, in towns too tiny for my big black car to quit, and in every wide corner of Kansas where going to school means at least one field trip to a slaughterhouse. I want so little. Another leather-bound book, a gimlet with a lavender gin, bread so good when you taste it I can tell you how it's made. I'd like us to rethink what it is to be a nation. I'm in a mood about America today. I have PTSD about the Lord. God save the people who work in grocery stores. They know a bit about glamour. They know a bit of glamour is a lot of glamour. They know how much it costs for the eldest of us to eat. Save my loves and not my sentences. Before I see them, I draw a mole near my left dimple, add flair to the smile they can't see behind my mask. I grin or lie, or maybe I wear the mouth of a beast. I eat wild animals, while some of us grow up knowing what gnocchi is. The people who work at the grocery don't care. They say, thank you. They say, sorry, we don't sell motor oil anymore, with a grief so thick you could touch it. Go on, touch it. It is early, it is late. They have washed their hands, they have washed their hands for you, and they take the bus home. Where to start with my admiration? I have much admiration for this poem, and I'm so impressed, as I was with Claudia Rankin, that this was composed really on the spot. So New York Times Book Review says, "Hey, write a poem," and then Jericho Brown writes this beauty. I talked yesterday just about how Rankin used line breaks and what we would call enjambment, blending on one line onto the next in her metaphors, and I see definitely Brown doing some amazing thing with line breaks. The last part of the poem, um, the poem's title is "Say Thank You, Say I'm Sorry," and we note, in that last section, they say, the grocery store clerks, "Thank you." They say sorry, and then there's this shift. All of a sudden, we don't sell motor oil anymore, and then with a grief so thick you could touch it. So all of a sudden, he's using that image of the motor oil to get us to the thickness of the grief. Like that kind of is what I get, the viscosity of motor oil, like the thick grief. And then he's encouraging us as a reader to touch it. And to me, this really rhymes with what he's saying in that interview about responsibility and freedom, without the complement of responsibility. What does it mean really to be free? And I'm really moved in all of this that the person who Jericho Brown zooms in on is the person that so many of us overlook, though they take risks and are responsible to us so often. They have washed their hands for us is the second to last line, and I see him kind of showing us this icon of responsibility that we overlook so often. That's my 2 cents on this exceptional poem. Um, Thank you all for listening, and thank you, Jericho Brown, for writing it.